It's 3 minutes past 5. That's right. Yep. First thing on the agenda is to review the minutes of January 22nd. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yep. Did you get my all set?
You're all set? Did you have a change? Okay. What was the change? Oh, you already made it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Yep, I'll move it as changed.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Aye. You gotta sign the warrants.
Yeah.
Engage $961. Is that for that lawsuit case?
That's what I think, because the bill came before we actually got the report.
Well, I just got that like 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah,
well, that this-
Yeah, yes. And I don't know the one it was, but that's not. I haven't had time to read that because I just saw that a few minutes ago.
What did you have to do for testing? That was $870. Well, it's analytical. Do you have a big test this time around?
The only thing we did was the iron levels out of analytical balance. That would have went to them.
$800 or whatever?
Yeah, that was to do the iron test for the,
That's
that's for the C5, the sequestering.
Oh, okay.
that little section of the houses with the dirty water.
I grabbed that too. I did sample them. I did get that back.
Included in that?
Yes, should be.
But it's not 870 for that.
No, that's like 8 tests. It's,
All right.
but it just shows that if I'm required to do random tests, that the price can be very expensive. And if my budget doesn't allow it, you can't nickel and dime
So you
my
want 2 of
budget.
these signed on this one? Just 2 of the same page?
Yeah, see that? I didn't do that.
I guess I'm right on that.
You're complaining about something that's...
That I have no control over.
Yes,
You guys
please.
have no control over.
Yep.
No, we just have to work to get someone else to realize that they shouldn't be doing that.
Do I need to sign both? Okay.
Please.
I try to hit the lottery each week too.
Yeah. You have to get in line behind my wife. Myox one of the valve, the play valves, or that's something else?
No, Myox is something else. I had to buy a pump, the magnetic drive pump. I believe it's right around $1,200, and I had to buy a float switch.
One of them.
It can be between $300 and $500.
Oh, it's so $1,700.
Yep, it's not ordinary.
Yeah. No, stuff isn't cheap.
Those usually last about a year. I get about a year out of it.
You want to do that one? Send it over there next.
So when we go to argue with the finance committee, we want a list of things that we have to replace on a yearly basis and say this is why we have a certain amount of money in these things. I mean, if that's $1,800, figure $1,800 a year just for
that.
Just for that.
Who's Bentley Systems Incorporated?
Bentley Systems is that's the water gem software. That's our in-house. We took the electronic file from Catter and Howard, brought it in-house.
It cost us $5,000 a year?
That's a retainer. It's not $5,000 a year. Remember, we were going to lease it instead of purchasing it, which made it much cheaper. So they'll deduct from that down until we get to a 0 balance, or close to it, and then they'll ask us to redo it.
Here you go.
think it's gonna cost us about $500 a month on the months that we're using it. Once we don't use it, it's zero.
Yeah, that's why when you describing how that lease worked, it actually seemed like a
can't
good
believe
deal.
they actually did that, because it does make it a good deal. But looking at them, they have a lot of software. It's not, they do a lot of software.
How come there's two get there? They're all kind of the same thing?
Yeah, there's just one, yeah, they are.
They're kind of swapped though.
Right, there's one extra one, I think it's.
And the total's different.
Right, and she added the bottom thing, I believe, lighthouse.
Okay, so we still have $7,000 left in the Yankees.
Oh,
We're not paying them in full. That's what
No, but they did, the wells are in, they've pretty much done everything in it.
Yeah, it says works complete, it's just the retainage we're holding back.
Right.
There's a second page on this one.
The second page on that one. Okay.
thank you. It's right behind the
Oh,
first page, yeah.
same, 2 copies of the same
Yes,
page.
exactly.
So I was thinking of something else further back.
No, thank you. Yeah, so David sent me that over this afternoon at 1:30, just to show you guys, in case you had any questions.
On my court case?
Yeah, he just wanted you guys to see what they got.
So in addition, he's also filing another appeal with the,
That's what this is for.
oh, is that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is the town's response to that
To that.
appeal,
Yeah.
if I'm reading it right.
Yeah, it is.
His next appeal, I thought it was still on his, because he was trying to re-appeal it,
Right.
but
And
he's
that's
also
what-
filing another appeal.
Yeah, but he didn't do it in timely either.
Right.
Oh, so that's,
Yeah, this appeal is this thing's for an appeal from January 16th. So he would have
He
just,
only had
Yeah,
10, he only had 10 days to do it. It says he
all right,
did.
so he missed his window.
He missed his window, yeah. Let me see, that's the page.
he's basically saying we didn't really overbill him by $790, but they gonna argue with the appellate board.
But at some point, this, it's costing us legal fees, which, the only way to find out if we can recoup them is to ask the very people that'll charge us more legal fees, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we're $6,821. The bill's $900.
Yeah, but it's
That was the
It's
original
not this-
payment that we tried to get for him, and he said he wasn't gonna pay, that's what he was appealing. This is.
No, they lowered it by it was $7,611
Right.
he owed us. They abated $789. Now it says he owes us $6,821.
Right.
That's what
That's what's been going on the whole time,
Right.
because he thought he didn't have to pay anything, all he had to pay was the 700, and then the rest was gonna be knocked off. And then when he found out it wasn't, that's when we filed the appeal, the original appeal, and then it's just been ongoing since.
currently we're about a third of that amount in legal fees. So
a third of what amount?
that amount that he owes us, yes.
6,800?
Yeah, we're about $2,000 in legal fees. This has been going on for more than a year.
So what do you recommend?
Termination of water service for non-payment.
Is he paying currently now? going
He's
forward?
paying his current bill, but he's not paying his arrears.
Well,
But wait a minute, his arrears, he shouldn't have any arrears because
So that's,
this is on a lien.
right, so that's gonna go into tax title, and the town will then begin picking up any legal fees. Scott said like in the next month or two, I believe, that it.
He owes us arrears again?
Well, it's still hanging out there, it hasn't been paid.
what, the 6,000 something?
Yes, that hasn't been paid.
Oh, the 6,000, no, that's, once that goes to
That's only
lien,
going to lean, right?
once that goes to lien, that's off our books. That's not on your books anymore.
But we're paying the legal fees to
We're
fight
still
it.
paying, because he's still trying to fight it, so it starts with us, but eventually it's gonna move to the town, because the town's gonna take over, going after the property.
Okay.
And we can't hit him for our legal fees if we win.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, it doesn't say, I was hoping it said in the back here, but I can't see it.
But right now, his present bill, is that caught up?
I believe he's paying up to date, yes.
Okay. As long as he's paying for the water he's using, everybody else has to.
Yeah, he's just not paying, any of, like, his old demand and finance charges.
Okay. We gotta do abatements too. How come Jeffrey Bryan's got so many abatements?
Because he had, he lives at 7 Copper Beach, and he was gonna sell the house, I believe, but then it didn't sell, and he ended up staying. So when that happens, like when new ownership comes in, we open up a new account, so it's not, like say his account 02434, when they move out, it'll be 0243400. He was prepaid on the 02434.
The wrong bill.
Account, yeah.
Okay.
Which in turn added demand charge, finance charge. He paid, he just applied, it was just a 521 account.
I got you.
So it's not like he's not getting that money back, it's just going towards his actual water bill.
Right.
So the realtors are always in a hurry to get that done, like days, weeks, months in advance of their closing, but the closings fail sometimes.
Yeah, well,
And we've had a few where that.
they used to do it at the closing. Used to adjust all that.
But now
We had a check would get mailed out.
They try and get us to do it like 3 weeks out because of some type of law, I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
That the lawyers and stuff, they want it earlier than that.
Why are we debating the police department's bill?
It's not, it was a decimal, like, on when the reading came in, like the last reading was like 1279. This reading came in at like 13,759. That mine should have been knocked off.
Oh, okay,
It was pulled
so
in.
that's why there's the big excess charge.
It's not an
Okay.
excess, it's just.
It wasn't actually there.
The decimal pulled in, yeah.
Okay. Tom.
A build-out report.
So you have a copy. I haven't had time, I just briefly started to read it, and then because he sent me a PDF file of it in advance. I haven't had time to read it through yet.
I think what we should do is table this discussion till we have time to read it.
We'll maybe do it for the next meeting, we get a chance to look at it.
Mm-hmm. So, we'll, I hear a motion, just table
I will
this.
move, we table it until the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We discuss the goals of the superintendent, office manager, and the contracts.
That is this.
Yes, so I sent you all what we did for the goals. That's just basically a copy of, the only thing that's altered in the contract is what's highlighted, which is just dates and figures. Well, it's a No, it's that, it's just behind the matrix.
Oh,
Okay, I see behind it.
time for new contracts again, huh? What's the date today?
Today is the 4th.
Tomorrow you're working without a contract, Terry.
No, the other one's still active.
That's okay. I love my job.
I didn't really get a chance to ask you if you agreed with the goals or not with the goals. I just knew the budget had to be turned in Friday. That's why I said if you didn't agree, it's easy reduction.
Easier to knock out than to add on.
Yes. It's what every contract from town hall to here has in it, those goals. Some have much better payment schemes for their goals.
As far as these.
Well, that's just a performance metric, the goals within. Next year, at another meeting, we'll just decide goals so that we can achieve them. I have some written out already, and then I may need help finding some for Kerry, but one of them would be turning the consumer confidence report over to her to create each year.
Kerry?
Yeah. That would take something off of me.
Well, I was thinking about after that email sent out, and like, those would be a couple of good goals for you, was to get some things that push some things on to other people, so you
Right.
can concentrate more on the superintendent part of the job.
Yeah. Because we're like a mini town hall. We have to generate our own revenue, watch it, track it, and spend it all in the same. I don't have an entire town hall's worth of the people, it's just Kerry and I. And to keep the water flowing out of the tap, heaven forbid you shut it off.
No, not an option. So the only section that are changing is what's going to have.
Yeah, whatever's highlighted, I did not go anywhere else.
Everything else is the same.
All the
as
back
last year.
pages didn't have dates. There's just signature on the last page.
I like
Best
to,
of my knowledge.
I like to see as a goal get the hydrants painted and color coded so that
I do have that as one of like 25% of the hydrants. I have that for next year's goals,
Yeah.
not this year's, but I figured we'd take them up at another meeting so that.
I mean, that's not something that you have to do, you just have to get the
I
guys
have to make sure we do it.
make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
And also operate the gates, you don't have to do that, maybe you have to
Right.
teach somebody how to run the gate operator, but get operating gates so that it's easier when you have a leak, that
Yeah.
you can shut things down and isolate it.
That, and I've noticed a lot of our gate covers have, storm damage has taken a lot of the gate covers out.
I
so
noticed that too.
Repairing
A
a
lot
good
of-
portion of
And that means they're full of sand too,
Yeah.
they're full of dirt, they're gonna be
Part of
affected
this summer
now.
will be construction, trying to fix them back up
And that's gonna interfere with your flushing program, because if they're full of sand, you're gonna have to vacuum them all out anyways.
Well, we'll exercise those gates as part of one of my other goals, exercising, getting 25% of the gates exercised this coming year.
So 25%, that's once every 4 years.
Yep, that keeps it, don't become time constrained, because we're not a very big crew, so if we have a blip on the radar, we can't usually let that blip alone. We have to take care of the blip and then go back to the regular stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's what we used to do.
Unfortunately, the weather only gives you a few months, you get about 5 good months for construction, and that's it. He just ate 3 points.
Yeah, and all the stipend stuff's the same.
Everything stays the same.
That was all the same as we ended up with last year.
Yep.
Termination is kind of grim. Disability of parks, death of parks.
I know. Don't worry, I've told everybody they're not getting anything from me either. The house of cards and it's ready to fall in at any time.
So, actually, all the rates have already been set for the 3 years.
Well, it's each year, so goal changes the figure. If I don't achieve my goals and you guys slap me and say you didn't, you don't get it, then the 2.25 stays the same, and there's no goals added in. If I achieve my goals, then it gets added into that and the figures change. So
Isn't there a pay raise other than that built in?
Yeah, the 2.25.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why it's reduced less than what the guys get for the union
Yeah.
or the...
The 75% and 25 are on top of that,
Right.
not part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, right now, that's all, we'll decide the goals the next meeting or two.
Yeah.
Make sure we have something.
Yeah, before we get into construction.
Yeah, so we have something all down so that
Right.
someone looks at it later on and say, yeah, this is the goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
How come in the third section of Kerry's here, it says 2021, like in 2020, it says 68,894, and then in 2021, it just says 2.25% increase, doesn't say any amount of
So
money.
it's the final one, because it's shifting as it moves along. The first time I saw that, I didn't understand it either. But so in the year prior, if I meet my goals, it changes the amount, so you
Exactly, okay.
can't figure
Yeah,
the
you don't
third
know
year.
ahead. You know this one because that's
Right.
assuming the goals were met
Yep.
for this past year.
Correct.
Yeah, all right.
All right, I got you.
It took me, I was scratching my head going, why didn't he wait? And
No.
that's why I don't have too much hair left now.
How many years you been here now, Kerry?
March 7th will be 8 years.
Ooh, you getting there?
I know.
Almost ready for longevity.
You
huh?
still got hair on your head though, wouldn't I mean, I looked at the matrix on the performance matrix on the surface. If you guys can find something to yell at me about, please do so.
You looking for criticism?
Go ahead and find it. I don't mind. It falls off my shoulders now.
Well,
Anyways.
make your head go.
Now, that we went over sick leave accumulation, stuff like that. I thought it was 120 days. It's gone to 150?
No, it's 100. It's always been 150, but the town will only pay out 120.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't they change it if you're a new?
So if you're new growth, a new hire has less, but that's a wrong thing to be attacking because the town doesn't offer you short-term disability. They don't offer you long-term disability. So if one of us gets hurt at home, that's what that sick time is provided for. That if I have to miss 5 months because I have a heart attack or a stroke or something at home before I can return, that's what I'm using. When I run out of that time, then the town says, well, you're not working. It's up to the goodwill of the town to say, well, we'll wait for you, but I have to see me getting run under.
Very cynical.
That's why I don't agree with it, but I understand why they try to reduce it because of at the end or the abuse that somebody gets near the end. But they should find a better way or something. I don't know, because there's nothing that helps anybody if they
Well,
get hurt.
didn't they just reduce the amount that should be paid out?
No, they reduce the amount that they get in total.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But just for the new hires, though.
right.
Just for new hires, yeah, they
Yeah.
couldn't, because everybody else was grandfathered in. That's only fair. Make your promises and then they don't keep them. Oh yeah, stay with us for 30 years and this is what we'll give you, and then they don't give it to you.
Well, it's any, I mean, I worked for Polaroid for 28 and a half and it's gone now, so
Yeah, I mean,
there are no promises. You just told
Town's
us.
still here though.
there are promises, there's just no guarantees.
Right.
All right, so, what do we need to do?
So this is what you filed in with the town already?
I have not, no, because you guys have to vote to accept it and sign it, and then I can send it to the town. The only thing that changed was the numbers at the top, not the heart of the contract itself. If you want them to review it, I can send it up to them.
Well, this is already what we,
Right,
voted on last time around.
Right, that's why I highlighted the only thing.
So do I hear a motion to?
Have you heard of any, just a question, have you heard of any other changes being run through from the other?
Well, I'm
the
sure that
departments?
they all had to go through their very same process to get their goals, because you have to budget it now. I haven't asked, I can ask, but I haven't heard of anybody having any problems, and David hasn't mentioned anything to me.
Well, I didn't mean so much with the goals, but was any of the other parts in here that we're not changing, are they looking to change any of that?
No, because usually they leave everything alone until unless you make a whole new contract.
Usually
then
what you
they
do
go-
is you open the contract for wage, or you open the contract for everything. So they probably just open it for wage, where there's a 3-year contract.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's in effect for 3 years.
I know there was one time we didn't have it approved and something got signed and,
Right,
I forget what the issue was, but I
it was
kind of
when,
made it standard procedure, have it approved, make sure nobody's got a problem with it before we sign it. But only because we had that problem one time where something got
Right.
slipped in and,
yeah, that's why I tried to say that.
because Gagney was trying to get everybody on the same page, all the departments, all the contracts, kind of.
But that's when the
So we did
selectmen,
that last time, that's what this
but that's
contract
when
is.
the selectman was sitting here telling you, he wanted you to do one thing, but they did another.
No, I get it, but you're producing the contract, put it in front of us,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It isn't like we came up with it and give it to
So
you.
the only thing
you know?
that changed is my numbers, and I can give you all the numbers so you can try them, and I actually
The
did.
contract's the same as last year,
I
just
get
change
it.
the numbers.
I did catch a math error.
But that's what I heard last time, Rick, and something got changed.
Which direction?
Yeah, well, it was up, actually, so,
Uh-oh.
but in this one, it's corrected.
Do you have last year's contract?
I do.
Okay, why don't you give that to Tom with this one here, and he could go through it, and we can bring it up next meeting, and he can see if there's anything changed between the two other than numbers.
And just for the heck of it, send a copy to Gagnon and see what his comments are on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're emailing it, send it to me, so I'll look at it too, you don't have to do all the.
Just so there's no,
We'll split. You do
we went through
Kerry's,
this
I'll-
one other
if
time
You
and-
want to, you do Kerry's, I'll do Wayne's, and that way you're not getting stuck doing both.
yeah, I don't mind, I'll look at both of them, it doesn't matter. Only because
Same
we had a
thing
problem one other time.
Yeah.
And you can send this in as is for Friday. Right, did you say Friday?
Oh, no, the budget's already in,
Oh,
so,
that-
I mean, if it's reduced, it'll just be reduced at that meeting that's gonna occur.
Okay.
when
So
we
it
meet.
won't hold anything up if we sign it.
It's not, no, it's not holding anything up.
Okay, so, we'll wait till next meeting to vote on the contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will look at.
So we're gonna table the contracts to next meeting. Do I hear a motion to do that?
Well, I'll make the motion to table the next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Rotary Farm, bid out the rent and the hay.
Okay, we've got a couple of issues. Still waiting to get the actual, some wording from the guy at the state, you know, because he doesn't have one for just that type. It's mixed in with like a larger package.
Yeah.
So he's gonna try to find something he can pull out to give us to look at. Bottom line on insurance is there's no requirement that we have to have the person doing the work with insurance. If we require them to get it, the town insurance company's gonna recommend, carry a $1 million policy. So whichever way we end up going with that, he's either gonna need none or $1 million. Were you able to find anything out from Coit about how much hay came off there?
I did not get to them yet, but it just seems in bad taste to go ask somebody that you're taking it away from.
Well, the thing
I
is-
counted the round bales, I counted around 10 that were out there, and I called about a price, and they go about $100 a bale. So there's about $1,000 worth of hay.
See if it's $1,000.
But I don't know if that was one cut and a two.
But there was only 10 out there that were cutting?
But
Well, the
that's,
round
I
is
just
bigger.
would just.
What's there right now, you mean?
What was there, yeah.
When?
Just when I saw it, well, a couple months ago.
Yeah, because I had
A couple months ago, I saw some round bales out there, and
I think he got some out of there. He just left the ones that are out back because it was too wet.
Oh,
He said he didn't get it. He wanted to wait till ground froze to get them out of there. So
Yeah,
So I think that probably
because what that's worth is what triggers how we bid, how long a contract we do, because it's the value of the contract. If it's under $5,000, we basically, actually not 5, now it's 10. Under $10,000, there's no requirement to bid. You do what they call best practices under Chapter 30B, which means you can talk to multiple people and you make a selection based on whatever criteria you want to come
what
up with.
works, right?
And it doesn't have to be anything on price, doesn't have to be on, as long as the value's under the 10,000.
And you're doing best practice.
But if you move, say, from a 3-year contract or a 2-year with a 1-year possible extension kind of thing, so we're not redoing it, it's not the annual, it's the total for those years. So it push you into the next one. You get into the next one, then you have to go out formal request for quotes. It still doesn't have to be a public bid until it's over 25,000. So we could keep it with, say, farmers in town, so that instead of going out to a general bid for everybody else around in the area.
so
But we do need to do something to pin down the value of what the hay is out there.
we're going to have to find out how much was being taken off.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of critical to how we do it. And it's not like we're doing it to try to take it away from them. We're doing it so we know what we have to do to clear this up. I mean, it'd be nice if we could just let it keep going the way it was, but if somebody else is asking about cutting it, we have to kind of cover our bases. So as long as it's, if it's a couple of $1,000s worth of hay, we don't have to come up with a formal bid process. We can set it up the way we want it and just do it. Whether we give it to them or give it to somebody else, we don't have to go through an actual bid. And then when I talked to Gagne, he was also thinking if you get into a issue on a bigger one where it's a big bid, and you get into that contract, we actually have more liability for the town than if it's being done on a lower level contract.
Why would we have liability?
So it's just something to do with the amount of the weight. If you roll the tractor over and somebody runs themselves over with a tractor or something, they're going to sue the town, as well as his insurance if he has it, and insurance of somebody driving by that stopped and waved. They go after everybody. But if it's in a formal contract set up that's gone through the bid process, they get a better chance, I guess, of getting at the town's insurance than they do if it's him just going out there and doing it as a.
So it's almost
The word's not a favor, but it's almost like you're going out there and there's no money exchanging hands. He says there's less of a weight into the town's insurance.
So we end up with more liability if we formally bid it out.
We'd end up with more, but we'd try to cover it with his insurance. It's just when the way that it's like in construction stuff, they just go after everybody's insurance, and if, instead of one picking up $1 million and then we pick up the rest,
One will pay, that one will after all the others.
yeah, they just go back after everybody. So either way, but if we can find that number out, some way of getting that pinned down better than us just guessing, because that where we could get in trouble is if suddenly we find out after the fact that it was worth more for some reason.
And the total value for what? For a year or for the whole length of the contract?
What I think what we'd want to do is set the length of the contract based on what we find out the value of the hay is. You can do annual contract, you can do annual with renewal, but whatever you pick, we can't go beyond 3 years, because if it goes beyond 3 years, there's a town bylaw, I think, or something in the state laws that the selectmen would then sign the contract, not the water commissioners. We can only sign it up to 3 years.
Any contract can only, you can only extend, you can only sign a contract for 3 years, and you can only hook the public for a contract for 3 years.
Apparently, the selectmen can go longer than that,
That never used to
is
be.
what I was told. But that would be another reason for us to stay to a shorter term, like maybe do a year with, if we like it, we'll re-up for a year, assuming that lets us stay, it doesn't kick us up into the full bid. Because there's really no reason we couldn't do it every year, if it's a fairly simple one that we don't actually have to bid. Trying to do this with the least headaches possible.
Well, I called the attorney of the day at the ethics board, and the ethics attorney said, anything of value, the board can't use to give one individual an advantage over another person that wants to bid on something. You can't use your position to give somebody an advantage. So if you're looking to rent something out, everybody's got to have the equal opportunity. We're not going to tell you how to bid, so we don't get involved in bidding, but you can't use your position to give it to one person.
No, and that's not what we're talking about doing. Look, Chapter 30B sets what procedures you have to follow. You still can't give it to your brother-in-law because he bought a new tractor and wants to pay off the gas. And the value is the value of the hay in this case, or if it was money coming in, it then becomes the value of the hay plus any amount that they would pay.
The attorney also said you may want to run it by your town council to make sure before you do anything.
Well, once we get to, it's not like we need to get somebody under right away.
Okay,
But that's, I went through what the Chapter 30B stuff is. It's probably never a bad idea to have town council look at it anyway.
yeah. Well, I'm in favor of giving everybody a chance. And, give it to one person. All right, so we'll just continue that discussion on free cash.
I'm trying
It's
to
never free.
type up a. We're trying to put up a slide fast rather than. So, as of September, or whatever the date was, that it was certified free, it was $684,212. The Station 4 rehab, the estimated cost for replacement of well number 5 was $460,000. The 2019 budget infusion is $158,744. That leaves us $65,468 remaining.
That well's going to cost just to drill a well $460,000.
So part of the pile of
60s
paper,
exploratory. Then
yeah, part of the paperwork in front of you is the explanation for it.
still seems like a lot.
That's a lot of
It
money.
does seem like a lot for.
I built a pumping station, the whole thing for $460,000. Put the well in and the pumping station.
But I was pulling wells too, and having worked on wells, and it was costing me about $5,000. Well, now it's around $10,000 in just
Yeah, I
a
know.
few years.
That seems.
I didn't make the numbers. I'm just giving you. What
No, I know. I'm not blaming you. I'm not shooting the messenger. I'm just saying.
You can put me out of my miseries. And I'll have the winning lottery ticket in my pocket when that happens.
I mean, what's an iron removal plant going to cost with a new well? About $1 billion? I mean, that's ridiculous. Why do we need a short-term pump test? You don't need to do a short-term pump test when you move 50 feet. There's no short-term pump test.
That's why I generated.
As long as you stay within 50 feet of that well, you don't need a pump test. you file and you ask for a, to move the well, just to
Yeah.
move the well within 50 feet, and they assume that the ground is exactly the same within that 50 feet. If you go outside the 50 feet, then you have to do another pump test.
Right.
That's why they had the rule of 50 feet. You better ask them to look, no, this is ridiculous.
So we can bring him in. The problem is.
Let's bring them in and let's find out, we'll check with
The
DEP.
special town meeting is predicated on the school department and their roof replacement. They have to, within the amount of.
We can go in with that number,
Right.
but I think it's way over. I think he's
Right.
way over. I don't think we have to do all that. I never did it before, and I replaced a lot of wells within 50 feet. We've done Norman Avenue.
I don't know.
We did Manley Street.
Manley,
We did a lot of them.
right.
And all George Allen ever did is wrote a letter and said, we need to replace the well, the pack is all crushed, and we need to go within 50 feet. They go, okay. They gave us a letter to go ahead and do it. We didn't do any pump tests, we drilled a hole.
So in the meantime, is it okay to you send that number up to town hall in
The 460?
Yes.
Well, I think we need to, just to keep it moving.
It's the number we have, and unless you think it was gonna go higher, we might, put that in and we'll cut it back.
Right.
Yeah, we can always cut it back at the town meeting if we find out that it's less. And we can also just not spend it if we find out we're not gonna need to spend it.
So as we move forward, something learned about dealing with them is we may want to have a time constraint on them, because the projects that we have with them now have dragged on for almost a
When we
year.
do the contract with them.
Right,
I'll
when they come for a
definitely-
contract with us, we want a time
Like Taylor and
constraint.
Howard, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we want to hold a good part of their engineering out on them so that they're forced to move, not they're doing them in our billable hours, running us down before we're complete.
We'll
It's not right.
put into the contract gateways for certain payment, like certain
Right.
deliverables that you aren't getting, this is up to a certain point.
Right.
If you go over on the hours, then.
We know now we need to pay attention to it,
Yep.
for sure. I mean, how long were they working on this lane, on the,
So those projects are almost a year because we went to special town
they were
meeting.
supposed to have this 6
fund
months
it.
ago, as far as I thought, weren't they?
So that's why I'm saying about the time constraints now. There were no time constraints on them. They make it seem like, oh, it's gonna, but, and then it just drags out, like the hydraulic report. That shouldn't have dragged on as long as it did.
Is that complete now?
So on another matter, so we brought in the Bentley software and Deborah started learning the water gem. So we brought in their file that they exported to us and we imported it in. And as she worked along, she brought up a table of our pipes. So it lists all our pipes and sizes, that part's good. It listed all of our pipes as being the exact same thing, cast iron.
All of them?
All of them. So she doesn't, because she's still not sure what she's looking at, she just wanted more time, and she's had, by the end of this week, she should be able to determine, did the thing, it might have exported incorrectly or imported incorrectly, I'm not saying that, because they did know, and I've seen it in the hydraulic, or the report, the different types of pipe, but for some reason, what we're bringing in, it's not showing up that way.
But we did have a problem on that map with what they gave us before, that things weren't showing up.
Right,
right.
That's
So
why-
they might have a problem with either their export,
Right.
whatever how that
Yeah,
program
'cause-
runs, so that it's not picking stuff up or it's
Right.
doing something.
So it's just something that we saw right away.
Did we ever get corrected copies of that?
Yes, we do.
I don't think we got them individually, did we?
Because you guys took off at the books, but I do have the drawings.
I'll take a drawing with me
Yeah,
today,
I'd like
and I'll put it in the book.
Yeah.
So 65,000 left.
So, but out of that, I need the clavels, which are,
Well, we really don't have
I know, we're-
460,000 in surplus because some of that money, it came from the sprinkler, overcharging those sprinkler customers. That should be rolled back to reduce the rate of the sprinkler customers, or it should be used for future painting of the tank and maintenance of the tank. Otherwise, those people, they're paying more than they should be paying.
All right, so
So we should actually be we should be borrowing some money instead of using all the surplus, because it didn't come from the right place.
all right, so I'm also going to tell you, we just did the commitment. It's not ready for signatures yet. However, we now have 3 quarters in, and I'm still estimating an under revenue. We're going to have a revenue shortfall.
You'd expect that with what we pumped compared to what we were building this year.
Well, it's not that the residents have learned that water costs money, and it didn't help that it rained every 3rd day, and still continues to do that.
How many gallons a day are we pumping now?
Oh, we're like 500,000.
Right,
Oh yeah,
sure.
we're bouncing between mid-4s and 5. Yeah, it's right where it's supposed to be.
Huge difference. Wow. Mid-4s and 5?
Yeah. That's why that trophy is over there. So
That's why I didn't like when they were grinding those roads and grinding the gate boxes.
right, and
Same thing could happen.
Oh, yeah.
I've made that
It's
known.
not the way to do it. We need to get together with them. And I mean, I don't think it is. I mean,
Some companies don't do it, the better companies go around them. The ones that they're budgeting.
I mean, we need to set some standards in this town when they do roads over. Either they're going to grind them or not grind them or whatever. But that, I mean,
The water
it
department
wouldn't take
said,
much for that banging on that gate box to
Right.
break the bolts off the fiber.
Right, all of our boxes sit right on.
And we could have them leaking out there, just break
Well,
them
that
down,
didn't even-
2 bolts and be leaking.
he didn't even have a box on that one.
No, they took it
There
up
was
when
no
they
box
did
on
it.
that one.
Oh, they
That's
took
how
the
they
box
snapped
off?
it. They
They snapped
pushed
it
the
off,
box
they broke it
over.
off. So
Even the bottom part wasn't on?
Yeah, that's why it couldn't come to the surface.
But the bottom part was
No, it was all gone.
So they pulled it right out.
Yep, they pushed it over. It was still in the hole because we came upon it, so we knew we were digging down at it.
I mean, don't you think that's a problem when they grind these roads?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
Well,
I,
can we push back with?
See, we make rules, and then, and you could tell the highway department, and you could tell,
Well, we need to,
and they just
we
don't
need
do
to
it.
educate
I think
them and
we
show
have
them what
a-
it does.
we do have a better working relationship now. We have that agreement
I
in
mean,
place.
you should be talking, take this down and show, have those guys come up, talk to the highway and say, hey, this is why we really don't want to grind these
Right.
boxes. This is what'll happen. I mean, you could have a leak going on forever. I mean,
Yeah, if it's bedding like that was under 2 to 3 feet of
if it
clay,
broke 3
couldn't
bolts and
get
was
up.
just peeing out the side a little bit,
Right.
that could leak for years.
Because it was spraying horizontally, it stayed under it didn't penetrate the clay barrier, so it couldn't get up.
No, but even if it had, never mind the water that went out through that while that was doing that.
Yeah.
Just the fact, the damage.
There are people over there who think it's funny.
There's a cost
When
to
they
that.
cost the water department money,
So-
they think it's funny.
Come up to them and say, look, this is, we don't just want it because we don't want you grinding over it. You guys did that, it broke it, it cost us this much money plus all.
Well, that
the
wasn't
water.
from grinding, this one wasn't from
No,
grinding.
This was from road work.
Right.
From
It's
areas,
still
yeah.
road work.
Not
But
protecting.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were grinding these roads and just grinding the gate boxes off. That pounding, I mean,
They've been
what
doing it
else
for
would
years.
happen?
Been doing that for
Especially
years.
transite
And
pipes.
that could have been how they lost it too, because I remember repeatedly marking out there.
Oh, yeah, we marked those out 100 times.
Yeah, because it went on for a long time, so we repeatedly kept going back and marking them out.
What's it doing to transite pipe when they're pounding on those gate
No, it's
boxes?
not. They snapped it a couple of times during that construction.
They drill holes through it.
I mean, even like Howard Street and Walnut Street, and they ground those this year.
Yeah, it's not. If you get a big enough vibratory roller, you can snap the transite pipe underneath.
But I mean, the grinder, when they're pulverizing the road,
The bad thing
when they're
is,
pulverizing the gate box.
it's,
Yeah,
that,
that's
that,
not good.
that grinding just goes down in the
Well,
box,
so
and
it's
then
not
it
back,
packs.
right.
But then it packs, then you can't even back it up.
If they hit the thing hard enough, they can snap the fittings down. Because remember, everything's compression fitting. It's not.
I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the way to do it.
No, and I'm hoping going
It's not
forward
the way
that
to do
we,
it.
that's a prior issue we dealt with, and I'm hoping that's behind us.
I mean, that can be a goal that we can give to you, is to get highway department
wow.
to accept better work.
Just take the deficit
You have to
off.
get 10% if you can convince them of that.
Talk to them, show them what it is.
I'll bring it up, I'll put it
Have a
on
little
the
discussion with them,
calendar.
that's all. I mean, everybody wants
Yeah.
to do a good job, just,
Yes.
you know.
Everybody's here for the better of the town.
Right. We're not trying to be a band of axe, but
Right.
you could create a leak that we're not gonna find for years.
Right.
There's a perfect example. That was, what was that cost us? 600,000 gallons a day?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's a lot of water. That's more than we were selling. We were leaking more than we were selling.
Yep.
Which DEP is gonna love, but
Well, yeah, I'm waiting for that. The good thing is the report, because everything was shut down, it stalled them out, so then I won't get moving until the middle of February for me to do that report, but I'm gonna start prepping in advance so I can fill it in.
So on that article, I put in there, you know, they put use surplus, borrow,
Yes.
free cash,
Yep.
you know, put in all options of,
Alright,
you'll have to pass by a 2/3 vote if it's a borrowing issue, but that shouldn't be a problem. The well's gotta be moved. So was that discussion there on the free cash, or was that the one on special town meeting?
so that was on special, free cash.
Free cash, what's,
Well, the special town meeting was just to verify that I'm gonna use the 460,000. Because we've already, the articles have already done, they're already gone there, I just have to give him that number. We didn't know that number until just
yeah.
recently, I've made you now aware of it, and tomorrow morning I'll turn it over to him.
for the 460,000 for the replacement of the well, you say?
Yes.
Okay,
The
then,
the other amount was,
okay, but you better put in there the other options too. Put in all the options.
Right.
To
Yep.
borrow, beg, or steal.
yeah,
Because if that isn't really all free cash that came from water revenue, that
Right.
free cash came from other areas that we shouldn't be spending. Budget 2020.
so I gave you a copy of it,
2020.
it's gone up by, so it's $63,981 above 2019's budget.
How much?
63,981.
Most of that in the contract stuff.
The contract stuff does, yep. And then some of the other lines, the lines that were reduced, that we told them we were overspending as they were reducing it, had to be brought up, back up because we did overspend it. I wish I could tell you that we're gonna have a cold or a hot winter a year in advance so we could move the budget. But I look back over 5 or 6 years. If we have historic highs, they're high for a reason because we hit that high at one time. If all of my markers come in high suddenly, then I'll never make my budget if we've reduced them all down to the historic lows. You have to look at the highs.
Well, they think that the surplus that we have, we could just spend it, I think.
There's so much capital work we'll never get to, and the capital work we're trying
I
to
know,
do.
but we can't just
there
spend it
isn't
either.
enough. Right.
They think, the finance committee thinks that we could just spend our surplus. We have surplus and we just spend it. And we can't. You have to go back to town meeting and you gotta ask the town for permission to spend it.
Right. It's the town. That's town rule. That the town votes where the money goes.
But the finance committee, I don't think understood that when we were talking to them.
The other thing is all of our vehicles are getting older and older, and we're not funding any replacements for them. It's
How about taking, what's your oldest van you got out there?
those are. I'd rather get rid of a dump truck before I get rid of a van. They're all beginning to rust a little bit more than the bigger one. It's older.
Well, why don't you do this? Do what I used to do. Do the 3-year plan. You lease it to own it. Buy one. You lease it over 3 years, and then you buy another one, so you can keep them rotating. That's how. Every 3 years, I bought a dump truck, then I bought a van. I paid for it over 3 years. I bought another van, paid for them 3 years, bought another van, and I continually kept that going until the last couple of years, we didn't replace anything. And then all of a sudden you replaced everything all at once. You spent all the surplus. We need to get on so you're continually.
So you're not doubling up.
No, you're just
continually rotate.
There's always that same payment going on for a vehicle over 3 years, and then it's just another vehicle you're paying on.
Yeah.
But it just keeps going on.
Missing,
And those vans never got, the trucks never got to be more than 10 years.
Oh, it's like up there, so, yeah.
10 years was the maximum.
I merged the way that they formatted that budget sheet. It came from town hall. That it's split. There was like 4 lines eating up a whole page.
Yeah,
in
Oh,
the
that's why you have.
5422,
I don't think there was a 5422.
because I see what he's saying, it looks like it's this stuff up there, but it's not there.
So what number are you looking for?
5422, it skips that,
There is no 22. It goes 21 to 23.
okay.
Oh, okay.
It's not. I didn't cut anything out.
No,
Yeah, they're not always sequential in case
it
they.
just looked like the way it printed me.
Yeah, no, it was just I spliced them together so that it was on 2 pages instead of 3. Actually, I think it was on 4.
We due for any tank inspections, Wayne?
We're gonna do the big one this year, or I'll do the little ones. I want to stay within the money allotted, the 5,000, because
So we're doing the 5 million this year?
well, get a price for the 5 million and the 500,000 separately, and if the 5 million comes in above the 5,000, if I'm doing okay budget-wise, then I'll go with that. But the big one is the one that should be done because it's the oldest, and then we'll do the next go.
I mean, it's just been all redone, I'm surprised.
Yeah, but they require you every 3 to 5 years to go inside of them and.
What's it been since we painted it? It's been 3 years, I think?
2014. 2014, yeah. I think
Been that
we
long
did.
already?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's been almost 4 years because I finished painting the big one. And I've been out of there for over 3 years.
Yeah.
I closed the hatch on that one.
I mean, tools and supplies, 5533. We overspent what you're asking for by a good amount over the last couple of years.
Well,
Boy, are we asking for?
because every time I try not to buy anything unless I have to.
Yeah.
I treat it as if it's my own money.
No,
Come
I'm
on.
not questioning that.
If
It's
I
just-
underspend something, then they're not paying attention to what I'm trying to say or do.
No, and I understand that, but if you look back at this year, we've already spent just under 20. Last year, we spent almost 23. Why are we only asking for 13.5?
Historically, it's always bounced. We have stayed within the 13. I'll try to stay within the 13. But
Was that just extra stuff breaking the last couple of years that you don't think is going to happen again?
yeah.
You know, I'll tell you what.
Otherwise, I'd rather put it in and have them take it
so
out
this
because you
past
know they're
year,
going to do it on another.
I put it in because I'll tell you what's happening. We got a lot more buildings we used to have. We got more treatment plants. You got more corrosion control buildings. The corrosion control buildings are getting to be 20, 30 years old. The iron removal plant is almost paid for. That was that on a 25-year mortgage or something. That's why we're spending so much money. You've got so many treatment buildings now. These budget numbers are based on what we used to have without treatment, just wells. And then when we built treatment, it was all brand new, so there wasn't a lot of stuff that went wrong. Now you're dealing with older wells, older buildings, older treatment facilities, and you're spending a lot more money. And they think that they're going to keep all this stuff up with the same figures that we had back in 2000. It's not going to happen.
Right.
What went over this year, Wayne?
So this year we ran hard. We did run hard.
Right.
So that's why.
On the tools and supplies, though? I mean,
Yeah, that too.
But that's not, is that maintenance items for the iron removal plant?
Mostly
Substations?
maintenance, wherever, yeah.
Tools
But
and
if we
supplies.
try to keep it to tools and supplies, tools aren't cheap, but
You
We
can't.
don't have that many tools.
I'm just not sure.
There
what
isn't that many
Supplies.
tools, but if you don't say tools, you can't buy a tool.
Right.
So you have to put tools, you have to put the word tools in there, or else the accountant doesn't let you buy tools.
So what is supplies?
Supplies can be like, I just bought, we worked out in the ice cold, so I bought them the cold weather hats and stuff to stay warm. It's not, so it's things like that. There are other things that enter in there. I'd have to go back through to see what we actually bought, but it's not just tools. Trust me,
Right. I was just curious.
I don't have 13,000.
So it's not, it's not pipe fittings, it's not.
No, it's not pipe fittings.
No, that's under the next, that's under the
Right.
fittings and meters.
Yeah,
But all the miscellaneous stuff that you have in it, that goes in under supplies.
right.
Like when you're
Yeah,
doing work.
it's not equipment.
Diamond
that's being
blades, all
replaced.
that stuff.
Yeah, and those are expensive.
No, it's in,
They
like I
can
said, based on the last 2 years, you already know going in, you're gonna go over what you're asking for.
Right,
I'd bump the number up.
I mean, most of the things that are in here that are going up aren't anything we have control over. It's the insurances, it's the
right.
contracts, it's, I mean, it's,
I mean, in 17 that number worked, but it didn't work in 18 or 19. So.
Right. 19, we can't really look at it, it's an anomaly year at this
I
point.
think 20 should, in 19, you know.
yeah, but you
20
still have a good chunk of the year to go, so.
Yes, it's still.
No, it still would be ending up high, I would think. I mean, if they cut it, then that's a good one, they cut back, if that's what happens.
Right,
And then you try it, but that's one that seems like should be higher anyway.
Well, we know we could double the size of the town and provide water.
yeah.
Yeah, but we'll be struggling.
Huh?
I was struggling this.
We'll be struggling.
I struggled last year. It wasn't any fun, especially when we kept losing communication, the fiber cables. It wasn't a fun year, but we made it.
But I mean, the infrastructure, put it out, we did double what
Right.
we really needed.
Yep.
Speaking of the drop in communication, we were talking about the trees and talking about raising, is that in?
So I can't tell whether that was the power outage doing it, because we haven't had any power blips. I have the unit, I still gotta get up into the tanks we still have issues because we lost it on the station. If we had a power outage here, we dropped a leg, but when one of them windy days, the branch came down and took out a leg, because it was weird. We still had some lights, some things worked and some didn't, it phased out. But it killed it, but it wiped the program out of station 4, but now working with our SCADA guy, I knew how to, the program stayed in it, and I was able to reset it and get it back up and running. But the power blips are affecting us. That's the UPS systems that I gotta get in each station. So that they can go down, if the station goes down and dies, that's fine. As long as, if it blips and you got a 30-second hit, then it wipes the program, because the PLC didn't shut all the way down before it got turned back on.
So you need the power supply to keep it from losing that.
Right, and those are about $800 to $1,000 a piece, times a lot.
Yeah, so you already have most of it, you need to make that fix anyway. It's just-
Right.
The only other thing would be correcting line of sight issues if we're losing
Yeah.
something.
And right now, we haven't had any blips, so I think that's it. It was
Okay, good.
beginning to die up there. He's rebuilt that PLC a few times now. I think I've told you before, I've used up most of his spare parts, because they're old and outdated and need replacement, but those are about $3,000 a piece to start changing.
So you're gonna get Pat in here, right? on this?
Yes, I have him come in.
Okay. So we done with that discussion on,
I think I'm all set.
I'd increase that tools and supplies to a more realistic number. If we're running over every year, it doesn't make sense we're only kidding ourselves. You know, you're not, if that's what it costs to operate. I think you ought to go with a higher number. If the town wants to cut us back, they'll cut us back, and if we can't buy it, and we just don't buy it, we shut down.
From being at that finance committee, the way you spend the money, they do kind of hold against you.
Right.
Because you wait, you try to use it like it's your own money, you wait before you spend it, until you absolutely have to, and then they look at it, well, you haven't spent it yet,
Right.
you don't need it.
Yeah, they don't understand that anything at any time can break. I have no way to know that a pump is dying down 50 feet in the water. I can't see it. But when it dies, I have to have the $15,000 there to get it up and out, replaced, not wait 2 months. Because we could be critical during the middle of summer or something. That's why usually you're holding I don't not spend, but I spend frugally going through the first 7 months of the year, and then when you look like you're gonna make it to the end, or you're close enough to the end, then if this thing start doing. It's not a budget that I like running. I'd like to be like any of the other departments, just have a budget. When it runs up, well, somebody else has to worry about it. But that's not what happens here.
Alright, so that was a budget for 2020. What about articles?
Well, the only article, I need the clavalls, the spares to be in-house, which they amount to $17,857. But that was a price now, not...
Okay, well, you better add 10% on and put it in, and then if you don't need it, you just don't spend it, and it goes back in the surplus. Or we can transfer it to a different article through town meeting.
Put it into where?
Put enough money in there, add 10% for cost increase,
Yeah,
what you need,
right,
and we make an article, you spend what you need out of it,
yeah,
and then we transfer it back in the surplus, whatever doesn't get spent.
all right.
Never cut yourself short because you can't buy it. If it's in an article, you can't overspend an article.
Right.
There's no other line to drop back on.
Yeah.
Can you call them and see if they'll be willing to hold the price till after the special town meeting?
It came with some... Well, I could try to hold out until we make it till July. We're now...
Well, is this for the special town meeting or the annual town meeting?
No, I was
This is
going to put that
listed
on
under
the 2020
articles.
Right, I was going to put it on 2020 and hope that we make it.
All right.
That's what we always used to do.
Right.
Even the engineers, when they give you a cost of something, they add a price on, they add 10%, 5% on.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
for the unknowns, the price may go up on things.
Yeah.
So that's the end of all the stuff that was on the agenda. Any other topics that anybody wants to bring up?
No, if we can go back real quick, I don't know, it might be easier to look on the map in the other room. I don't know how easy it is for you to bring it up here. That Robury Farm parcel that we need to cut.
Yeah.
What do we have for access getting into? We have,
40-foot right away.
yeah, we do have,
And John, to the left of John Cruz's house.
oh, that strip right there, we own that part too?
Yep.
I just wasn't sure if somehow or other, we only picked up the part down there.
See it?
Yep, I see it.
Oh, there it is.
And we own that piece going in and then the piece all behind them.
Oh, it's here.
But he's not cutting,
Where's Robert? Right there?
I'm in the wrong spot there. Let me move it up. Now you're there. It's this one. That's the strip
That's
right
it
there.
right there. Okay.
was a bunch of it wet enough that he doesn't actually get in there and cut?
Yeah, when I took the 9 acres, I just took what I could see was green. I didn't take the scrub brush and...
Yeah.
I think he was mowing Chauncey, doing everything all at once when he was there. He was doing out behind Chauncey's and...
Well, that's all ours, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Not behind Chauncey's.
Well, John's property, it doesn't go that far back.
No,
No, just behind the milk house. That used to be the milk house right there. We took See the little shed that's right there? It goes right in back of that little shed. That's the milk, that's where the milk house used to be. But this roadway goes in, the property line, our property line was way up here.
But he wasn't mowing,
This is all ours.
Yeah, but he's only mowing that one little section.
Yeah,
I think he was going further north up by Tront, doing that whole field up by Tront.
I don't think he can get through here. That's a swamp. There's a brook right here. That
Yeah,
goes
whether
there.
he's going through or not, but I think he was doing the whole section at once.
Well, okay, well, he'd have to drive around and go in through Chauncey's. He can't get in through here. There's a spring in here. This is underwater. There's a brook that comes down through in here, and this brook here goes. Is this flowing? This flows this way, I think. Yeah, all this goes this way. This is where our well is. We have a well right down about here.
Right, that answered that question.
I don't have any more.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Next meeting,
Second, next meeting.
18th is a holiday, so it's scheduled to be the 19th,
Okay,
Tuesday.
so our next meeting is going to be February 19th. The one in March is on the 4th, 4th and the 18th.